It's Bourbon Night. Hello, I'm Chad.
I'm Sarah.
And it's not an uncorking. It's not a flight fight. It's
bigger than that.
It's bigger than all of that. It's a million.
1 million.
1 million
views.
1 million cumulative views on the channel across all of our videos. We hit it.
Cue the confetti.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We don't have a confetti budget. Yeah. So to celebrate this milestone, we decided to do something a little bit different. On a lot of our milestones, we usually have a Q&A from you all, but this time we are doing that because some of these questions are submitted by you guys. But I decided to interview Sarah. Sarah decided to interview me, and that's what we're going to do. We throw some of our own questions in there, and we kind of just let people get to know us.
Yep, because what better way to celebrate 1 million views? And we also just passed 10,000 subscribers not that long ago.
11,000 actually.
Well, now.
Yeah, now.
But they lined up. They came pretty close together. So
they got pretty close.
What a reason to celebrate.
So, without any further ado, I think we're going to do me interviewing you first.
Oh.
So,
Let's
here
see what
we
I have to
go.
say.
Interview. All right, let's just start with an easy one. Do you have a favorite go-to bourbon as the seasons change throughout the year?
I would definitely say in the fall and winter, I like more. I mean, I always like barrel proofs, but I tend to go for the even higher proof barrel proofs. So Booker's is great year round, but I'd say I tend to gravitate towards that more in the fall and the winter. And then in the summer, I actually like Wild Turkey 101. It's still got some kick to it, but it's not anything that's going to make you overheated or that you really need to add ice to. So, because you'll drink bourbon when it's hot out.
Does It's Bourbon Night feel more like a job or obligation now?
I would definitely say it's accurate that it started out as a hobby. You know, it was just us two, me and Chad, hanging out, drinking some bourbon, and combining forces. But as it grew, I mean, it does feel more like a job in the way that it's something that I think about every single day. It's something that I'm always puzzling over. What can we do next? How can we make it better? How can we be different or try something new? But it's not a job in the way that it doesn't feel like it weighs on me at all. Like when I have, when we talk and we have good ideas, I feel like it's just inspiring and it makes me want to keep going forward and it just drives me. There's definitely a lot of responsibility with it, and we have a lot of responsibility to our fans to do things like deliver merch and, produce more episodes. So fortunately I get off a little bit easier because you do most of the heavy lifting when it comes to the editing, which I am not skilled at. But I try to, offset that for you so that maybe I'm doing a little bit. I try to pull some weight, so.
How old were you, honestly, the first time you tried bourbon?
The first time I tried bourbon, I want to say I was probably 17. I was not a fan at all. Back then, if I was going to drink anything, it was going to be vodka, and something could be easily covered up with juice or something like that. Soon after, I graduated to a rosé wine, or white zin, as I called it then. And I think that's the lower class word for cheap rosé.
Yeah. So what was your first bourbon then? And, well, you already said you didn't like it. Do you like it now?
I can't remember what my first bourbon was, to be honest. But I tried bourbon again when I was 21. And I drank it with Coke, and it was Evan Williams Black Label. And that soon became my favorite drink, which then led into bourbon and ginger ale, bourbon and water, and down the rabbit hole I went. And now I just drink it neat.
So tell me about a talent that you have that our viewers haven't seen yet.
I don't know. Do you know of any talents that I have?
Yeah, I think you're an amazing cook.
Well, thank you. I do like to cook a lot. I wish that, one of my personal goals as the show grows and as we are able to spend more time, hopefully, fingers crossed, doing more content, I would really like to incorporate cooking. That's a passion of mine, and I think combining it with bourbon, not just baking either. Like, I would really like to expand my cooking world into bourbon as well.
Let's talk about movies and entertainment. What are you watching on Netflix right now?
I just finished Glow. That was amazing. I wish there was more. I could binge that all day. I've been watching more HBO, though, and I've been watching The Sopranos because I never watched it before. You know, they're just eating pasta and drinking wine all the time, and every time I watch it, I'm like, I really want some spaghetti.
Well, speaking of glow, if you had to have a wrestling personality, what would it be?
Do I have to choose from the existing one?
No, it's your own.
I think I would like to think of myself in more of a villain role, but I don't know if I could pull that off because I'm too nice. So I think I'd end up being on that side of it. But being a villain would be so much more fun. What would my persona be? I don't know. I feel like I'd be some kind of animal.
I'm going to name some iconic movies, and you tell me if you have or have not seen it.
Okay.
Back to the Future trilogy.
Seen it.
Okay. Jaws.
Seen it.
When?
Last week. It was Shark Week.
For the first time.
For the first time.
Ghostbusters.
I haven't seen it.
Ooh.
I've been saving it. Let's watch it this Halloween.
The Godfather.
Seen it. Please, I took film class.
Okay. Goonies.
Seen it. Love it.
Gremlins.
Never Say Die. Gremlins terrified me when I was a little kid. I wished I hadn't seen it. I was so scared.
The Exorcist.
Seen it.
E.T.
Seen it. I feel like this isn't going the way you wanted it to. No. Are you just naming Spielberg movies?
No. Three Amigos.
Nope. I haven't seen it. I know.
Tombstone.
Mm-mm. I feel like those were like teenage boy movies.
Scarface.
No.
The Jerk.
Yes. This guy really hates cans.
Okay. Can you tell me about this hat?
So when I was little, I loved hats. Like, that was my jam. I loved these big, I don't even know what you call this kind of hat. Just like where it just goes all the way around. Up. This looks like an Easter outfit. But my mom would dress me up in these little frilly outfits with the bows, and they were big, and these little patent leather shoes and tights, and I would be like playing in the dirt or up a tree or picking up bugs a couple minutes later, and she'd go outside and I'd be in a tree somewhere. Like, that was just my thing. I don't know.
Were you allowed to dress yourself?
I guess this must have been like mismatch day or something at school, because I feel like that's the only reason Pam would take a picture. Yes, this must be every awful print that was in my closet, and I just decided to throw it all together. I look super proud of myself.
Did you break all the boys' hearts?
Oh.
Be honest.
I may have had a few suitors in high school. This was right after I graduated high school. I was 18. In this picture, and we went out to California to visit my mom's cousin. This is my mom's favorite picture of me, she says. So, or one of her favorites as an adult. So, and Pam knows best.
So is this when you changed your name to Avril Lavigne?
Yeah, that would have been during the eyeliner emo phase. This was I had my first camera, and I learned how to. This was my first selfie. So wow. I didn't take selfies before this, and this went up on Myspace. This was my Myspace profile pic, so I don't know why it's so green, but yeah, I was feeling pretty cute.
You still get this excited when you see food coming.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think this picture pretty much sums up me as a baby. Like, just happy and smiling. Anytime there's music on, I was dancing. But yes, I just love the joy in this picture with no teeth. I do make that face, though, when food's coming to the table.
So, how musical are you?
Oh my gosh. I was in band in middle school, and then Pam begged me to do marching band in freshman year, and I was like, okay, fine. So I played the clarinet, and I did 1 year of marching band, and then I decided I don't want to do that anymore. It was just so hot, and you had to wear those wool suits. I have not touched the clarinet since.
Tell me about how you think the show has evolved as a whole and with you as a host.
As a whole, I think it started, again, as a hobby between us that we were just kind of doing very casually. You know, when we had time, we would put together an episode, but we didn't have a schedule because it was just for us mainly, and we hoped other people liked it. And I think as we saw other people starting to like it, it was really surprising, not because we weren't doing a good job, but for me, I felt like, wow, people care what I have to say. You know, I didn't expect that. It wasn't something, I just thought we were goofing around. And so I take it more seriously now. I definitely want to plan and do the best work that I can do. And, be on topic, be on time. We put out more content now. We push ourselves to do more, go to more events, talk to more people. And for me, that's really helped me come out of my shell. I would say, 3 or 4 years ago, and you can ask my friends, I wouldn't be on the internet, talking to people. I wouldn't be putting myself out there like that. I was terrified when we put out our first video that people were going to say mean things about me in the comments, because I feel like, girls a lot on the internet get a lot of flack for body image and stuff, whatever. And I was really afraid of that because I'm kind of sensitive. So you can really go back and see it in our first episode, 50 Under 25, the confusion and a little bit of fear on my face that really just kind of melted away over time. I don't know if it's because I'm so comfortable working with you now, if because I've just learned to treat the camera as another person. Hello there. Or, just doing it over time. The bourbon helps. It really does. But I think I've grown a lot as a person in my ability to speak to other people since we started doing this.
So how did it feel to be in the hot seat?
It's just you, so.
Not too bad, right?
Nah, not too bad. I'm kind of used to it.
All right, well, let's see what happens when
put...
roles flip. You interview me?
Yeah,
yes.
Let's put you in the hot seat.
All right, let's
see what
do
you
that.
have to say.
Okay,
All
and here we go.
So regarding the phenomenon of FOMO, or fear of missing out, is that something you personally experience when it comes to bourbon bottles? And is there any way that you police yourself when it comes to choosing to buy something versus not choosing to buy it? And how do you choose?
Sure. I do suffer from FOMO, for sure. Yeah, we're on social media, Instagram especially, and you see someone who has that bottle and you're like, and it's even, I appreciate and love samples. They could send me a sample of that bourbon, but unless I have that bottle, I still have the FOMO. Like, okay, I've tasted it. I know what it tastes like. I have an opinion on it, but I don't have that bottle in my collection. Because not only am I a bourbon drinker, I'm a bourbon collector. So yes, I FOMO hardcore. How do I police myself? Well, I guess if it's like a series and I've had some bad experiences with that series, then I can be like, okay, I'm not maybe going to chase that series of limited release ones because I don't really care for it that much. And I think that helps me.
So of those that you are able to get, is it hard for you to open and enjoy rare bottles that you've acquired? Do you find yourself wanting to open something that you can't bring yourself to do, or do you just open it and enjoy it freely when the time strikes?
Yeah, if I could have my druthers, I would have a bottle to open and a bottle to save, always. But, I guess if I still have the bottle, which I will, I'm not saying there'll be anything left in it, but I will keep that bottle. It's like leveling up in a video game. The more bottles you get, the more you can level up. The more experience points you get, the new badge you can earn. That's kind of how I approach bourbon collecting. Experience-wise, I think I have a lot more experience points than I do bottles because I've had pours at friends' houses or samples or bars and things that I would never own a bottle of, but I've been able to taste. So I count that as part of my experience along my journey. Yeah.
If you could have any job at a distillery, what would it be? Master distiller at Heaven Hill, brand ambassador at Four Roses, barrel roller, anything.
Yeah.
What would it be?
Well, I think the best master distillers are the ones who have tried every job and have held every job in a distillery. I would like in this made-up scenario to be able to bounce around and hit all those jobs. Now, here's the thing. If we're at like Wild Turkey, which would be great, Heaven Hill, Jim Beam, any of those places, that'd be awesome. Wouldn't want to be the master distiller there.
Too much pressure for you?
Too much. Well, it's not my legacy. Jim Beam, it's the beams and the nose. Other places might not have the family line, but still, it's not my place. If I was ever a master distiller, I would want it to be a distillery that I started. Because that would be mine. That would be my taste, my experience, what I can bring to a barrel or a distillate. That's when I would be a master distiller, or again, attempt, to learn and eventually become a master. I'd probably just be a distiller for a long, long, long time. And then if anyone ever wanted to bestow that thing on me, sure, I would take it.
Interesting. And they'll call it Chadwick's.
Well, I don't know about that. I still can't think of a good name for my bourbon distillery that doesn't exist.
How old were you the first time you tried bourbon? Honestly, don't lie to me.
Are my parents watching this?
Mm-hmm.
I was curious about bourbon, being Kentucky born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom occasionally cooked with bourbon. So there was a bottle of, it was probably Maker's Mark in the top cabinet. And I'd only ever had it in like homemade cough syrup and so forth. And I just wanted to. I was in high school. I just got a little bit, tried it, didn't like it. Maybe that's why I don't like Makers now. But I just wanted the experience, And I didn't like it. Then it probably was when I was legal, when I was 21. My friend Bob and I were kind of like, we're both Kentucky boys. We should really, because there was, the mixed drinks at parties and stuff, or beer. It's like, we're Kentucky boys. Let's try this. Let's figure out what's up with bourbon. And that's actually when I started having bourbon nights and started building that collection. But yeah, 21 is really when it started. Nice and legal.
You're such a good little Boy Scout.
Yep.
If you could have a pour with someone famous, past, present, or future, who would it be?
Well, let me say what came to mind first. Because when you say have a pour of bourbon, I start thinking about bourbon people, not just celebrities or anyone else in general. So I think of Elmer T. Lee. He definitely left his mark on this industry. That would be amazing.
Yeah. So you talked to him about, how did you come up with the idea of marketing single barrels?
Yeah. I mean, just pour it on me. Just give me the knowledge. Give me the experience. Or Booker No. That'd be another good one. Now, if we go outside the bourbon industry, I would love to have a bourbon with Steve Martin. Just because I love Steve Martin, Mark Hamill. Who wouldn't want to have a bourbon with Luke Skywalker? And he would probably talk to me about Star Wars, which is amazing because he's a cool dude. I have met him once. I touched him.
Now that we've grown a bit more and we've hit this big milestone, in leading up to that, does Bourbon Night feel more like a obligation or like a full-time job to you?
I do have a feeling of obligation. I don't know if it's ever felt like work yet because I love it so much. But I do feel the obligation to people who send messages, ask questions. I feel the obligation to answer them, to do their requests when I can. And when I inevitably let things slip through the cracks, that's tough because we are growing and rising, but it's still, a very tight group like bourbon drinkers are. So you don't want to ever let anybody down or disappoint anybody. It definitely is not easy at times, but I've never stopped loving it.
So I'd like to let them know a little bit more about you as a Chad.
Sure.
So, kind of tell me a little bit about yourself growing up.
Growing up, I kind of like to classify myself as the class clown, but the class clown who knew when to turn it off. And I remember a teacher, and this is probably elementary school, telling me, like, you always know when to turn it off. I'm like, I guess that's a good thing. Because some people, they're being a goofball, they get some laughs, and they feed off it and they just keep going, but they don't read the room or read the situation and know when to, like, okay, now you've taken it too far, and you lose them. I was kind of that guy who loved to make people laugh, always did, but wasn't trying to always be the center of attention because I was also self-conscious, as kids are. So it was this weird, like, contradiction of, hey, look at me, look at me. All right, we're good. We're good. Let's have someone else be the center now.
And when would you say you lost the ability to turn it off?
Shut up. Never.
When did you fall in love with film and video production?
I fell in love with it when my family got our family camcorder, VHS camcorder. I was probably like 5 or 6. And I have an older sister, and she was good enough to like play with me until she got too old and too cool to do that. But then it reemerged in 7th grade in advanced biology class, where we had the option of doing the same old, fold out poster board presentation. We were in groups of 4, or we could do a video. So I was with 3 of my real good friends, and I was like, hey, what do you guys think about doing a video? And they're like, okay. So they came over to my house, and we worked on this thing. It was only supposed to be like 2 minutes. It ended up being 10 minutes. And I remember specifically there's a point where I said, okay, we can either just do this the easy way and get it done, or we can do something a little more special. It's going to take more work, but it's going to be funny. It's going to be really fun. And they all said, let's do that. And I was like, all right. That's when I knew what I wanted to do. So Bourbonite is, I think I've said this before, just a combination of 2 passions meeting.
Speaking of your childhood.
Okay.
This looks like the happiest baby I've ever seen. Like, look at those little legs.
Yeah.
Just a little 3-month-old.
3-month-old, yeah.
Little
Nugget.
nugget.
Yeah.
What happened? You were so cute.
I know. It's all downhill after, 4 months. Yeah.
That was your peak.
I peaked.
You peaked
at
there.
3 months.
Can you explain to me what's going on here?
That got it. I should have screened these first. Yeah. Okay, well. All right, so that...
I feel like you're a gypsy who's about to take my money.
Yeah, I think that was one of the home movies that I made. But I would also go into my room or like downstairs and find these clothes, and I would just put them on, and I would come up and I would be another character. I would just be in this character for my parents. Mm-hmm. And I would do that every so often, So when I came in completely dressed oddly, they were like, oh, who is this? Yeah.
I'm going to skip a few years.
Uh-oh.
Was this also for a home movie, or was this a character that you did? Can you tell me who this is?
That was for a home movie. Well, not a home movie, for a school project.
For a school project.
Yeah, I took media 3 years in a row in high school until I graduated. I just kept taking it because I loved it so much. And my final was this, I just discovered Goodfellas, the movie. So I was all into gangster movies. The Untouchables, all that. And I wanted to make my own movie, and it was called The Wise Guys. And that's where that came from.
So we have something in common from when we were in high school. I don't think we would have hung out in the same circles, but we do have something in common. We were both in band. Yes, we were.
That's just how I dress for school.
Oh, yeah?
That's not band at all.
How'd that trumpet treat you?
Wish I'd played the drums. In retrospect, really wish I'd been a drummer.
So you've been musically inclined.
Yeah, so I was in a band end of high school, beginning of college. Yeah, took over the basement and was really into, grunge, punk rock.
I see you writing some music here.
Yes, writing down my thoughts and feelings, emotions, as I did. I was quite the poet.
Where can we find this notebook?
Oh, it's somewhere. I still have it. I know I do. Bourbon's empty. I think we're done.
I think we're done.
So who was the cuter baby? Me?
You were such a little chunk.
Yeah, I was pretty...
It was so cute.
That was pretty cute, yeah.
I just want to pinch your cheeks and your fat little legs.
But I just want to say thanks to everyone who have watched us and gotten us to 1 million views.
Seriously.
It took us a little over 2 years. We'll see how long it takes to get that next million. Hoping under 2 years,
I think the
obviously.
snowball's rolling down the hill.
Snowball's going, yeah. We're on the train now. Train's on the tracks.
It's such an exciting thing.
It is, yeah. But, thanks for joining us for this special episode. Mm-hmm. We'll be back with our regularly scheduled programming.
Regularly scheduled bourbon programming.
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah, next time.
Uh-huh.
If you haven't joined the ranks already and hit the subscribe button, please do.
Help us get to 15,000, 20,000, onward.
Well, Sarah, until 2 million. We'll be back for that.
We'll be back.
Yeah, but thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Chad.
Okay. Until next time. drink more bourbon.
High five on 1,000,000.
High five on 1,000,000.
Seriously, I want some confetti.
I know. Maybe 2 million.